Um, totally off topic. I've just watched Perfect Neighbour. I hate this planet. I hate this planet. How are you going to tell me that that's how we treat people because of the colour of their skin? And then to let her walk free after doing what she done. If you've never heard the father of children or children scream for the death of their mother or their ex-partner, I implore everybody to watch it. That's everything. Wish you love you, bye.
So I just watched a video of a white woman literally crying about the conditions of the United States. How she has to work 60 hours and she's looking at other countries and they don't even have to work 40 hours. How they can take a train for like pennies on the dollar anywhere they want. Meanwhile, like our country's infrastructure is falling apart. How it feels like there's no support nets. It feels like all the safety nets are dissolving and she doesn't understand why. And I both hate and love to remind these folks that the reason why the United States is the way it is because of y'all. A lot of you are the descendants of folks, or might actually be some of the folks, who were more invested in not sharing all of the programs, all of the initiatives that the United States was starting with marginalized people, specifically black people. Y'all are some of the same folks who would have rather filled in the pools in your neighborhood than share them, shut down the schools and the libraries rather than share them, that you would rather vote against any forming of these safety nets or any protections for these safety nets rather than share them with marginalized people. Then you look up a generation or two or less later and wonder why you don't have these safety nets to protect you, because you were banking on your whiteness to keep you safe. And a lot of you learned pretty quickly after this election that you don't even have that to keep you safe. That unless your bank account has something like 7 digits in it, that the folks that you were banking on to protect you won't. And that some of the safety nets that maybe your mama or your family had relied upon, like SNAP or Medicaid or Medicare or any of those other basic safety nets, are going to be eradicated by the very people that you voted for. May I suggest, instead of crying, you strap up? The whole bootstrap thing that y'all be telling my people about. Remember that you get what you pay for. For everybody else who's not invested in crying, maybe some suggested reading. These Some of Us by Heather McGhee. It talks about how equality is not a zero-sum game. This book has torn me up several times that I've read it, but it is essential reading. So for the next few years, might want to be diving in instead of crying on the internet. Just a thought.
Dude. I gotta give up. I have worked so hard, literally. I went to school for 10 years for a higher education that doesn't do me any good. I've been working 2 jobs in restaurants for 2 years, 50 hours a week for nothing. It doesn't mean anything. In fact, I'm getting evicted next week after my son almost died in the end of March with diabetes. And now he has type 1 diabetes. And dealing with that. And then my grandma had a stroke 10 days after that. And now I'm behind on my $2,500 a month rent that I can't work enough to catch up.
Why do people, and let me be clear, I have empathy, right, for people that are going through things, because life be life. I've been through things. I don't know anybody that has not been through things. All right. So that goes without saying. Okay, your son got type 1, your grandparent or your parent died or whatever like that. Man, condolences out to you. But then there's always that other part because we ignore that other part because the person is super emotional. Aside from the fact that the person is crying on the internet, I don't understand this. I don't understand picking up your phone and then crying to the internet. I don't know what that does. I don't know if you're looking for somebody to hit your Cash App or whatever. Always gonna link back to the content creator. But the fact of the matter is there some self-inflicted wounds in there? $2,500 a month rent, and apparently you're a single mother, which then lends me to the next question: where's the father? And why aren't you with them? Because this just proves that women cannot do it alone. When men tend to go through things, and don't get me wrong, I do see men crying on this app and stuff like that, but when men tend to go through things, we eat that shit, we suffer it up, and then we just take our lot in life, and either we come up out of it or we take the L. I've never seen more women in my lifetime crying on the internet because of their life circumstances when it's still some self-inflicted wounds that go into that. $2,500 a month rent and you're a single mother apparently is wild to me. Now, obviously, I know that there are circumstances that are beyond people, right? When you talk about some widows or you talk about some other things. But 10 years of school, in what exactly? You know what I'm saying? It's almost like women have this one track mind. It's like, okay, if I go to school, then I'm supposed to be well off. Never mind, I'm supposed to make sure that I don't take out a whole bunch of student loans. Never mind the fact that I am supposed to make sure I go into a curriculum that is going to be conducive for my life. Like if you went to school for 10 years in order to be an anesthesiologist, I think you'll be all right now. You still got to make sure that you know, are financially literate and you're not blowing a bag. But I think that you will be all right, right? But if you go to school for 10 years for, let's say, liberal arts and theater, or you get a master's degree in something irrelevant, gender studies or some dumb shit. I always like to call it underwater basket weaving degree. Then that's a self-inflicted wound. You know what I'm saying? And then people keep blaming the society told us that we were supposed to do this, and now all of a sudden I'm not able to make it. What is life for? Like nobody owes you anything. We don't take into account how we vote and our liberal ways and the cities that we live in and how highly you get taxed and you know, you paying without representation and you know, again, living in $2,500 a rent when you're a single mother and all of this stuff because we have a luxury mindset and we don't even realize because we feel like we're old because that's the standard of what a lot.
This is crazy. Well, it's not crazy, and I'm not shocked. As always, I'm never shocked. But it's crazy how all the things that's affected people of color, blacks, Asians, Mexicans, anything other than of European descent, how everything that we've been facing for years, for centuries, is starting to affect y'all. Y'all never understood our cries. Now, y'all gonna feel this pain. But I swear I already know that once, even if y'all do come up out of this realm of what we face, would y'all respect us more? Would y'all understand us more? Would y'all see our sides of the story? Would y'all even go delve back into some history that y'all are not familiar with to see that, yeah, we was getting kicked under the fucking dirt? That's what I want to know. Do I want y'all to feel what we feel? Nah. Because we built for it, you know? You know, it's not that we belong in positions at the bottom, but we can handle it. You know, we're not as suicidal. We don't go over the edge as much. So I don't want y'all to endure what we have. That's what makes us more special. You know? And I'm not speaking as a racist because I'm far from it. But I'm realistic. I'm very realistic. And I hate it for y'all. Only thing I enjoy about it is maybe you'll understand what we've been saying all this time. Maybe so.
Just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do.
Well, here's the thing. I thought y'all believed in free market capitalism. And free market capitalism is the government don't uphold you. See, the government has been subsidizing these white farmers forever. And when the black farmers say, hey, well, subsidize us too. Nah, we're not subsidizing you like the white ones. We're not doing it. We may give you a few crumbs, but we're not doing it like the white farmers. And black farmers forever have not gotten any subsidies in amount have white farmers have gotten. Number two, all that land that these white people got to farm, a lot of it was stolen from black people. Let's call that what it is. Because we know they just didn't come into all this land to farm. All these millions of acres of land they have. Black folks lost their millions of acres of land. It's not they lost it because they just did bad business or sold it. That's number two. Number three, your exports. Let's talk about that. Because Trump instituted tariffs, especially on China, China was one of the biggest customers for American farmers. And when Trump put the tariffs on them, went back to March of 2025, they immediately start cutting off and tariffing products going into China. Soybeans was the main thing they wanted from America. So they start sourcing soybeans other places. They still get some American soybeans, but not 100% like they were. They cut off American beef, American pork, American chicken. It's a lot of different people suffering on farms now because of what happened with the tariffs. You understand what I'm saying? Now, Trump, he don't care about you. Trump got his. Listen, Trump in the billionaire class like that, let me tell y'all something. Listen, because I know some white people may listen to this. Listen, white people, I know you're listening, so I'm gonna talk to you straight. This is your fault. Let me tell you why.
White women, it's about time we revitalize how we utilize our weaponized tears. See, I have the luxury of crying and people will listen. I have the luxury of crying and people understand my emotion. I have the luxury of crying and people will do something to comfort and make sure that I don't cry. So how the fuck are you going to weaponize your tears? Because I have seen other communities who have restrained themselves from completely breaking down on camera in personal lives because they don't have that fucking luxury. We do. If we start sobbing our eyes out on fucking camera, they'll listen. If we start sobbing our eyes out to the men in our lives, they'll listen. So let's change how we weaponize our tears and fight other white women tears with our own white women tears. All right, let's do that.
So I'm not really sure how I made it over to the white men crying on video about their finances side of TikTok. But I was over there for a little bit. And at first I was like laughing because it's like FAFO, right? Because like y'all voted for this and now it's affecting you. But then I started to think like these are normally the people that and so to see them online in this much disarray where they're on video crying in full tears about their finances and how mad they are. Y'all be safe out here.
I'm probably going to lose followers for this, but you know what? I have got a pretty significant platform, and I typically don't talk about politics or anything too controversial because my page is about fun, right? I can't keep quiet anymore. I am seeing video after video after video of what these ICE agents are doing to people, what this administration is doing to families. They're all criminals, right? We are deporting the worst of the hardened criminals, right? No. And if you truly believe that in your heart, you really believe that the people that are being deported without due process are the worst of the worst criminals, then I beg you to do some research. Just
You know, it's crazy, right? Because the first thing that always sticks out in my mind is due process. Let me remind people of something really quickly. You don't have rights inside the United States of America if you're an illegal immigrant. All right. If you're illegally over here, which means that you broke into the country, you came over here undocumented. You're not, if you're here illegally, all right, for all of the white apologists and the liberals and all of these people, if you're here illegally, that means that you don't have due process. You don't get a court date. You don't do any of that type of stuff. Now, it gets a little bit more murky when it comes to people that have overstayed visas or whatever, right? And I still think that you still need to abide by the law. If you're here and you commit a crime while you cross over here illegally, you still don't get due process. As a matter of fact, what makes it even more egregious is the fact that all of these liberal states and liberal mayors have pledged not to work with this Trump administration or ICE and said that even if we arrest them for a crime, we will not turn them over to you. We will allow for them to go free, which is one of the reasons why we got the Laken Riley Act, which is one of the reasons why the Trump administration has in the budget boosted it from 10 to 30,000 agents to be able to go over and try to chase down people that's not supposed to be here. You know, they went by a cannabis farm over in Southern California today, and they found 8 to 9, I think it was 8 minors that were working in these farms, and we're not even holding the companies accountable that is hiring these illegals, let alone are hiring people underage. We don't even know nothing about them. You don't know their age.
Can we talk about how miserable white people are for a second? Like, you know that white people are miserable, right? Like, have you ever looked a white person in the eye, even if they're like a big mental health person? You just look deep down and you're like, brother, you are not happy at all. And truly, it breaks my heart. But one reason, I think, one of the main reasons that a lot of white people, a lot of us are really unhappy and miserable is because we lack internal congruence. Now, congruence is a concept we learned early in grad school to help people heal. And congruence is basically internal alignment. Values and actions are on the same page, right? Like, we accept every part of ourselves. We feel peace, security in who we are, congruence. And no matter how hard you try, you can never find internal congruence if you're not congruent with the world around you. If you're not understanding what's real and seeing reality and affirming what's true. So like white people who deny patriarchy and capitalism's negative effect and oppression of the world and genocide that's happening around the world, like that's incongruent with reality. That is going to have an effect on us internally. Because to deny what's happening in real time, we have to deny certain parts of us, certain emotions, certain thoughts that come up. And the more we run for that, the more incongruent and separate we feel, the more dissonance that comes, the more miserable we are. And a lot of times we're not actually dealing with our own pain and our own reality because we're all suffering under capitalism and white supremacy. Like, it affects us different ways in intersectionality, but like it affects us white people too. You don't think a stormtrooper in the fucking Star Wars movies hates his life? You don't think he hates being bossed around all the time? You don't think poor white people living in the empire, like in a city walls, like in a Game of Thrones, like you don't think that they're miserable under it, even though they're not miserable the most? To be congruent inside, to not be miserable anymore, it takes accepting the realities of the world, seeing how those toxic systems affect us, and then moving to actually be congruent. Because deep down, humanity has goodness at its center. So yeah, white people, we're miserable because we're not congruent, because we're denying the realities of the world, and thus denying ourselves.
Oh. This is what it looks like to find out that you've been cheated on for months. I loved him.
I'm seeing a lot of white women tears on here. And I just think a lot of very fragile egos are getting poked. And because we're seeing a very harsh reality of where we do stand when it comes to white men ruling this country. We are no more than property. We are no more than vessels for white babies. So we need to take ourselves down a step, realize that we are not the pinnacle of beauty. We are not the pinnacle of grace. We need to see the sisterhood and common humanity in the women around us. We are not on a pedestal. We need to take a step down and look at each other eye to eye. Because black women start movements in their sleep. They deserve our respect.
You have no idea how much us, white people, Mzungu, have suffered. I mean, 70,000 years ago, all humans, we were all black here in Kenya. And then some of us moved and we went toward cold. Really fucking cold. Imagine how cold we had to be to become white. I just find it interesting to realize that not so far ago, we were all dark-skinned. And actually the difference are so superficial when you think about it, right?